Hi everyone, this is Joy with Create It with Joy. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so very much for stopping by. So for today's cards, I have done some alcohol ink backgrounds, which I've done before, but what I did differently was that I pulled out a bunch of stamps and matched the alcohol ink backgrounds to what I want the images to be. I had so much fun doing it this way. It was such a blast, and I made 11 cards. So this video is a little bit long, but well worth it. So I'm going to start off with my alcohol inks. I've got alcohol pearl inks, which are absolutely fantastic, and alcohol inks. I've got my blending solution, and I have got some bronze metallic from Jacquard Pinata alcohol inks, and so I'm going to be putting that on some of my cards as well. So I'm just going to go through the process of doing these alcohol inks because I think it is so magical to watch. So I did leave this in. This part's pretty long, but so much fun. So for each alcohol ink background I made about 2 cards per stamp set or images that I wanted to do. So for this one, I had some die cuts from Spellbinders called Fruit Salad, and it had some watermelon in it, and so I kind of wanted to mimic some watermelon colors. So for the alcohol inks, I am using alcohol ink pearl and Enchanted Envy Sublime Villains. I'm also using alcohol ink Botanical and Shell Pink. Then I'm using for the pearls Intrigue, Splendor, Alchemy, Tranquil, Celestial, and then I'm also using some Pistachio alcohol ink, and that's a non-pearl alcohol ink. So I am just laying down my blending solution, laying down some color, and using my little camera puffer to blow it around. You could use a straw. I have done that in like first grade. We had to blow paint around everywhere, and I remember being so dizzy and feeling like I was going to pass out everywhere. So I'm not going to do that. This little puffer thing gives you a nice hand workout, but it gets the process done. So this is the second alcohol ink background I'm doing for my watermelon cards, and I love them both. I really liked this one because it was a little bit softer, less concentrated color than the other one. You get that by adding more and more blending solution and a little less alcohol ink. And then I just use my puffer to kind of dry some spots so it doesn't move around, especially if I like the way that it's looking. So now I'm going to move on, and I think this is for the pineapple, tropical pineapple die cut from Spellbinders. And so I am just laying down some color, some yellows, some greens, a little bit of pink, because with the die cut it's got a hibiscus flower, and so I knew I wanted that to be pink. I'm not normally this planned out when it comes to my cards, but I really planned it out. I pulled out a bunch of stamps, a bunch of dies that I knew I wanted to use that felt very summery. And so that is what inspired me for the colors. So there I'm adding some of that, I think it's bronze, not copper. I apologize. I think it's bronze. Metallic things, and adding that, a little bit of that onto the card background. Most of these Yupo papers that I'm using the alcohol inks on, I'm trying to leave some white around the edges. I didn't succeed every time, but I really wanted a lot of white space. This Yupo paper came in a 5x7 sheets, and I literally just cut them in half and left them like that, and I will mount all of those onto an A2 size card base so it has a nice white frame when I'm done. So I'm going to do another one for the pineapple, and the pineapple die cuts are really darling. But just keep adding your alcohol ink. I'm adding more blending solution. As you can see, that pushes out that alcohol ink and the alcohol pearl ink, and if you have not used the pearls, they are fabulous, gorgeous, beautiful. Doesn't that turn out so fun? Okay, so on to the next one. I am going to be using, this one is for my favorite things, Toucan Do It, some birds, and I really wanted to have some fun bird colors, purples, pinks, blues, yellows, a little bit of gold, just a little bit. Sometimes I put too big of a dots, but I love the gold and it works out great. moving it all around. I needed a little more blending solution because nothing was moving. You have a little bit of control on this, not a ton, so you kind of just have to be okay with it, if that makes sense. Adding a little more of the blue and the purple, or the purple and the pink, excuse me. And I am not a huge purple fan. It's not a color that I like, but I really did like it on this, and I think it made a huge, huge difference. And these alcohol ink backgrounds are so addicting, and so I'm really glad that I had so many stamps that I wanted to use, and so it really made it stand out. Dropping the ink down, a little more of the blending solution. You could also use like the 99% isopropyl alcohol. That works just fine too. And just move everything around. I really liked how much white was left on this card and how pretty that turned out. Okay, so this one is it reminded me of a sunset, and I love this color combination so very much. I think this was Intrigue, Splendor, and Alchemy, but I could be wrong, but I think that was this color combo, and I really liked it for the sunset. I had a lot of orange on there, so I just kept using the little puffer to kind of push the orange up a little so it didn't take over that whole yellow, because I really did like the yellow too. Added in a little bit of that little bronze or copper, and that looked really, really good. And just puffing it to dry so it doesn't move when I set it aside. And to me, it is a fabulous sunset. That was my inspiration because I'm going to be using Altenew's Gradient Sunset for that one. This I'm doing a similar thing, but I'm adding the yellow to the top and the bottom. And then some of that pink and the orange and a little bit of gold. And just gonna puff that around. This is so addicting. If you guys have not done an alcohol ink background, you absolutely need to. It is just a blast. So again, this one is for the palm trees that I'm going to be using from Altenew's Gradient Sunset. Look how pretty that turned out. I love it. Okay, the next one, Tranquil, Celestial, and Pistachio alcohol ink. Pistachio is the alcohol ink. The other two are alcohol ink pearls. And this is for some ocean things because I've said it many times that I love anything ocean, anything beach. I loved how this one turned out. It was super wispy, and that was because I added a lot of blending solution and a little bit of the alcohol inks, and so it just has this wispy look about it. This one I did 3 of because these are my favorite colors, and so I really couldn't help myself. And I had 3 stamp sets that I wanted to use for this. So I'm just laying it down at the bottom. I knew I wanted a lot of white at the top. Some of these I kind of knew if I wanted it to be a horizontal or a vertical card. So here I added some dots of that gold, and I didn't like how it turned out because I accidentally had a little splash of the gold at the top. I didn't love it, so I just ended up adding some more color to the top there. When you're using the pearl ones, give them a good shake because I believe that there is the mixative in it that gives it that like pearl finish. So I just added a little more color at the top, and then that one was done. Going on for the next one, and adding that dark, adding a little bit of that green in there, a little bit of the kind of a turquoisey color. And this again is the Tranquil, Celestial, and Pistachio. I had a little too much gold. At first I thought I ruined it, but actually it ended up turning out really nice and I liked it. Just if you feel like you don't have enough of that color, just add more of that alcohol ink in and push it around with your puffer or your straw, however you're going to do that. I loved how this one turned out. So super pretty. Again, just puffing all over to kind of get it dry so it won't move around because I got it where I liked it. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so now it's time to put these cards together. This again is Spellbinders Fruit Salad. And what I liked with all of these cards is for the most part, I think there might be one or two that I didn't do a super bold black sentiment, but most of them, because there's so much white space on the card, I felt like it could handle the super bold black sentiment. So I am using a Pinkfresh Studios Adore Alpha die. Right here, you've got the solid, and then you can see off to the right of my workspace, it also comes with the frame. It cuts it all at the same time, so you can do it however you want. I am cutting out the word hi, and I'm gluing a few of those together. I think I glue 3 of them together to give them some dimension on this card. So I've got watermelons for both these cards. I've got sentiments. On this watermelon, when you run it through the die cut machine, it also embosses where the little seeds would be. So I'm taking my black glaze pen and I'm going to color in where the seeds would be. So I'm just following the embossed areas there. I am using, let's see, I'm using sentiments from lots of different stamp sets. I've got My Favorite Things, Gill Friends. I'm using images and sentiments. My Favorite Things, Toucan Do It. Simon Says Stamp, Beautiful Mermaids. Lawn Fawn, I'm using the Happy Happy sentiment with the die. Simon Says Stamp, Fruit from the Heart. Simon Says Stamp, Tiny Words. So I'm using all kinds of sentiments from everywhere. I just really pulled out stamp sets that I wanted to use. Some are old, some are new, and I just had a really good time. So I'm using Lawn Fawn's glue tube, and I'm going to glue down my sentiment. I glued down the watermelon first, so because I knew where I wanted that to be, and then I glued my sentiment next to that. And then I will have the little sentiment strip on top of it. And these cards really were simple to make, but turned out really super cute. So here's the next one. They're all glued down to an A2 sized card base, Nina Classic Crest Solar White cardstock, 110 pound. That's what I use for all of my card bases. And again, I liked how much of a white edge that left. I cut down that Yupo paper just in half. I didn't worry about it being perfect. It worked out fine and it looks great. So I'm gluing down a couple of sentiments there. The first one says, "Hi, sweet friend." And this one says, "Thank you a melon times over." And I love that. And that came from Simon Says Stamp, Fruit from the Heart. Those sentiments were that. Okay, so on to the next ones. This is the Spellbinders Tropical Pineapple. I am taking some distressed oxide inks and gathered twigs, lucky clover, and picked raspberry. A little bit of mowed lawn, and I am taking the detail blending tool, they're really tiny, and adding just a little bit of ink to the pineapple, to the greenery, to the flowers. I felt like they needed a little bit of life brought to them so they're not so flat, if that makes sense. So adding a little bit of color around the edges, nothing crazy, because really I still want the background to be center stage. So for one of the cards, I am gluing, I think I glued 4 of the pineapple pieces together. Obviously the inked one's going to go on top. For the other card, I've got 2 pineapples and I glued 2 of those pieces together, and the same for the leaves. On the first pineapple, I wanted the is it leaves? I don't even know. Is that what it's called on top of a pineapple? Is it a leaf? I don't even know, but that's what I'm going to call it. So on top of that, I wanted it to have dimension. So I kind of, the very top one, I kind of gave it some dimension by bending in the flowers upwards a little bit. So it gave it like this 3D effect. And then glued a couple more behind it. So after I added the ink, I took my black glaze pen, added a few dots here and there, took my white gel pen to the flowers and the greenery, and added some detail with that. Nothing special, nothing crazy. Now I'm going to put these cards together and glue them down, and I wanted this one pineapple because it's so dimensional, because we added 4 pieces of paper behind it and the leaves were you know, bent up at the top. And I wanted that to be center stage on this card. I loved the colors of this alcohol inked background. I thought they were so soft and so pretty, and it felt very fresh and summery. So I'm tucking in the hibiscus flowers in and around this pineapple, and then that one will have some dimension on top with a little bit of foam tape. And the sentiment on this one did not have a big black bold sentiment, but I was okay with it. I did stamp it in Simon Says Stamp Intense black ink, and it says, "Your kindness is appealing." And I thought that that was really, really cute, because ultimately you do peel a pineapple. I mean, really. So adding a little bit of foam tape off the edges where it's going to be, and adding a little bit of liquid glue and lining that up right over the center, and that one is done after I glue it down to my A2 size card base, because I forgot to do that first. And then we're going to move on to the next one here in just a second. So now for the next card. Oh, isn't that cute? See the dimension on that? I love it. So for the next card, I'm just gluing the pineapples together. These we stacked, we did doubles. And I'm just going to attach those down. And for the sentiment, this is Lawn Fawn's Happy Happy stamp and die set. And so I've cut that out of black cardstock. And it's going to say happy, and then I'm stamping the word birthday. Super simple stamp. I've got all those glued down, the flowers, the pineapples, and that already has a little bit of dimension. I've glued 3 of the word happies together to add dimension, and then I'm going to tuck in the word birthday kind of underneath that sentiment with just a little bit of Lawn Fawn's glue tube. And then that one is done. Isn't that super cute? I love the pineapples. Okay, so for the next cards, these ones I'm using Altenew's Gradient Sunset, and I just stamped the palm trees in black ink, used the die cuts to cut them out. And I am doing one vertical and one horizontal. This one is going to say sending happy thoughts. And I've said this before, I don't usually stamp things on the inside of my card, because something like this could be to cheer somebody up or for a birthday, and then you could stamp that sentiment on the inside of the card. So happy is from Lawn Fawn's Happy Happy Happy, and I glued 4 of those together to give some good dimension. And the sending thoughts, I am using that with some foam tape. So everything on this has dimension except for the palm tree. That is just glued straight down. And I really like how simple it looks. You've got the sunset with this nice black palm tree. The other card, I did 5 palm trees, different heights. Across it, it says sending good vibes. I loved that, that sentiment. Those were super simple to do. Okay, these birds are from My Favorite Things, Toucan Do It, like a toucan bird. I've colored them with some Copic markers. I did not put that in here because this video is long enough. And I stamped the palm fronds with Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide ink. Colored those. For this one, I just stamped the sentiment that says Toucan Do It. There was already the bold black toucans, so I didn't feel like this needed the bold black sentiment, if that makes sense. But I did pop that up on foam tape, adding a little bit of my white glaze, white gel pen, for a little bit of highlights on the beaks and giving them some little freckles on their cheeks. And those turned out, that one turned out super, super cute. For the next one, because the birds were not black, I did the word happy. And this, I forgot to write down which die cut that is. I will have that below. But it says the word happy and then bird day from the same stamp set. Colored those 2 cute birds, and you can see the birds match the background colors. Love, love, love it. Super fun, adding some black gel pen to the eyes. and a little bit of white glaze pen to the birds' beaks, and a little bit of few little dots here and there on the birds, adding a little bit of some character. Okay, moving on to our last 3 cards, you guys. We're almost at the end. Thanks for hanging in there. So this one is from My Favorite Things Gill Friends. I love the fish in these stamp set. I think it is darling. So I stamped on black cardstock, so I wanted a bold black sentiment, birthday fishes, and I used white embossing powder. And for these guys, all of these characters, I used oh my gosh, my brain just blanked out on me. Zig Clean Color Real Brush Markers, you guys. So sorry. I thought that would be a great look for the ocean. And isn't that a cute card how that came together? And I loved, and I matched the colors for the colors that I wanted on the alcohol ink background. This one says, there are a million fish in the sea, but you are a mermaid. Who doesn't want to be a mermaid? This comes from Simon Says Stamp Beautiful Mermaids. And so I colored her again with Zig Clean Color Real Brush Markers, and I've cut her out with the die cut and some bubbles and glued that around. And again, the background speaks to what's going on in your card. And so just a few little images, and then you've got this great card. I did add a few details with my black glaze pen and my white gel pen. Doing the same thing, adding a few dots here and there in her hair and on her body. I also used the Jelly Roll glitter pen, adding a little bit of glitter to her hair and to her body. And I love this card. This one is one of my favorite backgrounds, just how it turned out. It looks like ocean waves. And I really, really adored this card. So finishing up, adding those little bits of details. Again, this just adds more character to each image. Not that these images aren't perfectly wonderful on their own, but it does add just a little bit more. And then we're going to move on to the last card here in just a minute. Isn't that super pretty? I love it. Adding a little bit of glitter to those bubbles because glitter is fabulous. Now this, obviously this is the word sea, and the whole sentiment is going to say sea treasure in the simple things. And I had colored a bunch of turtles from Simon Says Stamp Beautiful Mermaids, and I was going to do like 3 or 4 of them across the thing, but I ended up across the card. I ended up not liking how that looked, so I glued them together for dimension. I'm going to stick that down, and then I'm adding a little bit of like the little glass like dewdrops. I didn't really do that on any other, I didn't do that on any other card, but I felt like this card needed a few of those things. So I added a few of those, and I think they're from Hero Arts, one of my card kits. Sorry, I'm having a hard time talking today, you guys. Adding a few highlights with my gel pen, and then that one is done. Thank you guys so very much for enduring this super long video, but I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you had a lot of fun. I really did. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you like what you've seen, please thumbs up, share, comment. I love all of your comments. There are some affiliate links below. It really doesn't cost you anything extra, but it really does help me to continue to create, and I appreciate that. Thank you guys again for all of your support. You are such a blessing to me, and I'll be back really soon. Bye.